I think as caregivers, we need to be generous to ourselves and charitable to ourselves before we are generous and charitable to others. It's going to be hard. I know it's going to be super hard. We, as caretakers, that's just not what we do. We give, 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 give. And most of the time, there's not anything left over in the end. And there's nothing else to give ourselves. And we're exhausted. And you just hope that maybe maybe you could find another caregiver who has a lot of overflow in their generosity so that you could talk to them and get some of the burden off of you because they're willing to give it to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexie Callies. Do you feel the squeeze of caring for an elderly loved one and school-aged children? Then welcome to the Sandwich Stories. Let's dig in.
Hi everybody. It's Lexie Callies with Sandwich Stories. I hope you're having a really great week. I hope your new year has started off with a bang in a good way. It is almost the end of January, and I hope you are still working with your resolutions if you do that. I hope if you have goals for the new year that you are working towards them, and I hope you're taking care of yourself. And that's really what I want to talk about today is taking care of yourself and making sure that that is one of your goals as a caretaker for this year. Putting energy back into yourself and not overextending your generosity. Being a caretaker sometimes is a calling. Being a caretaker sometimes is thrusted upon you, and you just have to suck it up and take the role and move forward. And then there are people who just walk away from it. But I don't know anybody that has actually done that, and we're not going to talk about those people. We're talking about being a caretaker now and how you put energy back into yourself so that you can be the good caretaker. And I really want to talk about, self-care is part of it. And we've talked about that before and what you need to do to give yourself time and to have self-care so that you can be re-energized and come in with a good attitude for your loved one. But also, when you tend to be a natural caretaker, you are a natural caretaker to everybody around you. You are the person who people come to help fix their problems, talk about their problems. But you tend to not be the person who talks about your own problems to people because you don't want to be a burden to them because they've already told you what's going on with them. And you sometimes know that those people who come to you also won't know what to do with your problems. So you just think, okay, I'm just going to compartmentalize that, put that away, and move forward and still be the great caretaker that I am for my loved one, for my family, for my friends, for everybody but myself. And I really want people to remember that being a caretaker is a loving, caring, generous act of kindness and love. You love the people around you. You want them to be happy. You want them to be well, you want them to not worry. And so you take all of that on and you're generous with your time for everybody. But you need to be generous to yourself. You can't give generosity if you are pulling from a dry well. You can only really give true generosity from your overflow. So, what does that mean to be able to have the overflow to be generous to others? And I think that's just taking the time to say no say no to people, say, I can't do this right now. I would love, and maybe you circle back with them later, but in that moment, you need to realize that you don't have the ability to be generous with your time and your advice, or just being there to listen and being able to do it in a very meaning and effective way for those around you. Um, that even comes with being a caretaker. I feel this sometimes when I am just depleted. The Christmas season for me, I am all over the place. I run at 1,000%. Sometimes I love it. And then when I'm done and over with, I'm like, oh, I'm just drained. And I want to go hide in a dark room for about 4 days so I can come back out and then be myself again. Because not only do I help take care of my mom during that time and my family and everything that goes on with my son when it comes to band Christmas concerts, volunteering at the school, making sure that I help my husband with gifts for his team at the office. So if he needs me to run around and collect those things, he gives me the list and I go do it. I help him plan those gifts. Also, I work for a children's charity that we have a really busy time at Christmas, and that takes up many parts of my day for good 2.5, 3 weeks. And it's tiresome. So I could be going from one event to another, to another, to another, and I could start at 8 o'clock in the morning, if not earlier, and not be done until 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. And then, of course, you want to have fun. It's the Christmas holidays. So you want to go to a party, you want to see friends, all the things that you just try to cram into those holidays. And that's what I'm talking about. I give, 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 give. And then I realize in the new year, I'm just exhausted. And I don't want any of you to feel like that throughout the year. We all have busy moments in our life, we all have busy seasons in our life. But then, how do you step away during that time so that you don't feel like you want to hide in a dark room for 4 days and then you can come out and be yourself? You want to be yourself and feel good about yourself all the time. And so I really think that that comes with saying no and saying, I would like to be generous with my time, but at this very moment, I can't do it. I can't be effective. I can't be genuine. And I think you will be doing yourself a favor and those around you if you can really be genuine and be effective in the moments that they need you. So you need to pour into yourself, whether that is self reflection, getting good night's sleep. What does that look like for you? Does that mean my husband, this is how it works for me. My husband has always done bedtime. Ever since since our son was an infant. My husband has always done bedtime because when he's at the office, he comes home and he really wants to spend time with our son. Because that time is precious. As we all know, children grow up and so much faster than you ever think they ever would. So even to this day, even if it's a quick goodnight, tuck in, prayers, those kinds of things, my husband does that job with our son. And when my son starts to get ready for bed, I get ready for bed. I am not going to sleep, but I am shutting down the lights. I might still watch a show in bed, but I have changed into my pajamas. I have brushed my teeth. I've washed my face. I am getting comfortable in bed. I'm doing all of these things for myself so that it pours relaxation and time back into me so that I can wake up the next day and be the person I want to be. And so for me, it's that routine works for me. For others, it might be putting on your calendar, schedule the time. And we've all talked about that. We've talked about scheduling and time and management and all those kinds of things. But if you just feel like you don't have the time, schedule it into your calendar. Say, maybe it's that you need to read a book and you love to drink your coffee in a quiet space, whatever time that is. If you can even find 10 minutes a day for you to do that one thing that you need to do to relax and to pour back into yourself, to be generous to yourself, then do it. Be generous to yourself so that you can refill the well, so you can use the overflow to be generous to others. I know when I've been running on empty, I get snippy. I get snippy with my mom. I get snippy with my husband and my son because I'm running on empty, because there's nothing left in my tank, because I have not been generous. I've been over generous with my time to others, and I have not been generous with my time to myself. And so when my mom's having a bad day, I get snippy with her. And then I walk away, and I've talked about this before. I feel guilty and I feel sad. I was like, oh, why did I do that? It's a constant battle I deal with. And then I need to walk away and say, okay, you need to take a breath, take a beat, give yourself some time, and just pour back into yourself. Sometimes if I have the moment, you have those times in the day where you think, okay, I'm done with this thing. I got done with something early. Yay. And I have to move on to my next thing, but there's a gap that's not quite big enough for you to go home, but not quite short enough that you can show up early to the next thing, right? So what do you do? So for me, sometimes that gap comes when I have to go get my son from school. And I have to be at the school. Anybody who's ever picked up any child from a school, you see parents there so early because the line is insane. Your kid has to be someplace at a certain time, and you just have to be able to get the parking spot or get in the line that you need so that when they scoot out, you can just drive away. And you don't want to be stuck with the traffic of school pickup. It is a nightmare. I wish the people who run the the drive-through line at the Chick-fil-A could run the pickup line at the school. That would be amazing. It would be so much more efficient. If we could figure that out, someone please help me and figure that out for school. But I digress. So there's that time, right? So I have to get my son from school, but I don't have enough time to go home, because by the time I get home, I might be there for 5 minutes and I turn around, get back in the car and go get in line at school or the parking spot at school. So I just end up a lot of the times going to my spot where I pick up my son at the school. He gets out at 3:30. I might be there at 2:20, 2:30. I might be there a good hour before he gets out because there's just no need to go home. But that is the time where I could possibly find the moment to shut my eyes. If I have an audiobook, I listen to my audiobook. If I just need quiet, I have been known to put my Calm app on and listen to some calming music, and almost like that spa music, and just almost doze off, because it's that time to be generous to myself, to give myself that time that I need, so that when he comes in the car, if I've had a tough day earlier, I'm not pouring that negativity back onto him. I'm going to rejuvenate myself. I'm going to give myself that generosity so that I can then give the generosity back to him when he gets in the car. I can be in a good mood. If he had a tough day, I can then be able to really listen to what he's saying and try to help him through that. Now, he has told me sometimes he just wants me to listen, not fix it, not say anything. And that's always hard as a mom because you want your babies to be happy and you want to help them and fix them and make it better for them. But sometimes the generosity is to just listen. Let them talk to you and listen to what they have to say and not say anything in return. Just take it in, and when they're finished, give them a little bit of time. Maybe you reach out and you say, "Well, I'm sorry you feel this way. How can I help?" And they might say, "I don't need your help." And maybe you give a little suggestion. Oh, well, if this happened again, how would we go about making so this is not the outcome? And sometimes my son will go along with that and, you know, talk to me. And then other times he's like, oh, no, that's not what I want. I was like, okay, then we don't have to talk about it anymore. I listened. He got it off his chest. He feels better. And that's what he needed in that moment. But I was able to give myself time so that I could give him time. And it's just that moment in the car because I was efficient with my time and I was able to have extra time for myself that I wasn't expecting in the day. So I think that's really what it is. This year, I think as caregivers, we need to be generous to ourselves and charitable to ourselves before we are generous and charitable to others. It's going to be hard. I know it's going to be super hard. We as caretakers, that's just not what we do. We give, 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 give. And most of the time, there's not anything left over in the end, and there's nothing else to give ourselves, and we're exhausted. And you just hope that maybe maybe you could find another caregiver who has a lot of overflow in their generosity so that you could talk to them and get some of the burden off of you because they're willing to give it to you. And that is why I feel that networking with other caregivers is really important because we can help each other through all of this trial, tribulations, all the things that we all go through. And we just need to find the person who has the overflow. Yeah. I think it's the overflow that we all need. You can't pull from a dry well, but you can definitely give your surplus and your overflow to others. Okay. All right, guys. Song of the week. I asked my mom to give me a song of the week that reminded her of my dad. I said, when you think of dad, what is the song that you think of? And it was not what I thought it was going to be, but it does make sense. It was one of his favorite songs. It was Superstition by Stevie Wonder. And every time I hear this song, I do think of my dad. It was the go-to song if he wanted to find a new stereo system. For whatever reason, I wanted a new stereo when I was a little kid. Well, I was not a little kid. I was a teenager. I wanted a new stereo. I was going to buy it myself. But my dad would not let me just go pick out any stereo, right? He had to bring the CD, he had to put it in, he had to try them all out. And of course, he was partial to Sony. He was like, Sony is the best. You buy the best, you buy it the one time, you don't buy it again, which I still believe. And he'd bring that CD and it was Superstition. And he would try it on every one with all the little different things. And whichever one he felt the sound came out the best, that was the one I was allowed to buy. So I hope I had enough money to buy it. But yeah, so when it comes to my dad, that is the song my mom says reminds her of him every time she hears it. So I love it too. It's on the radio. I listen to it. I crank it up. I think of my dad. I hope he's sitting next to me in the car. And that's the song of the week. So if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. I guarantee if you didn't realize what it was, once you hear it, you'll be like, oh, I do know this song. But yep, Superstition by Stevie Wonder, song of the week. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. I really love both of them. All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to Sandwich Stories. I really hope you learned some new things and enjoyed it. If you did, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your dad, tell everybody you know to also listen. Maybe they'll learn some new things, how to help each other out, and find us at Sandwich Stories Podcast. Thanks so much.